So, my name's Kelly, obviously. I'm not a scientist. I've got ADHD, dyslexic, bombed out high school, never went to university. But somehow I got to work with this amazing lady. So it just goes to show, it doesn't matter where you come from in life. Like, I'm working next to an amazing scientist, one of the best in the world in my opinion. So, yeah, so then here's me. But I'm going to tell you quite a different story, but it all aligns to the same thing. So in 2013, I was just in the middle of an ordinary life. My kids were 6 and 4 at the time. And I was just in a Zumba class one day. I'm a swimming coach by trade. I was very fit, doing triathlons and swimming for miles in lakes and all the rest of it. And I was in a Zumba class one day, and it was like, right, run around the room. I was like, right, okay, run around the room. I was like, my legs don't feel right, and my feet started to feel funny, but I carried on. And all of a sudden, I just fell over. I said to my friend, she was like, get up, stop being lazy. I was like, I can't stand up. And she went, what do you mean? I was like, my legs won't move. And that foot motion that you do, it just wasn't there. My legs felt numb, and everything just was like, I remember shaking from head to toe. I was like, what is going on with me? So, got sent to hospital, and they diagnosed me with something called Guillain-Barré syndrome, which is an autoimmune disease that literally paralyses you from head to toe, and all you can do is blink. So they did a lumbar puncture, said, yeah, it's definitely this is what it is. Not to scare you, but we're going to have to put you on the respiratory ward because your lungs are going to fail, you won't be able to move, but you'll be able to blink, so you can communicate through blinking, so I suggest you I was like, what? I'm like, yeah, so, within a week, it'll all start to shut down. So can you imagine? I was like, waiting for doomsday, for everything to start collapsing and whatever. But it never actually happened. I just couldn't walk. That was it. I started to be able to walk a little bit with someone holding my hands like this, but I was just like, but I don't feel ill. I just feel weak. I just don't know what it is. So, anyway, they was giving me all this medication, and when I say it gave me the most horrific headache I could possibly ever. I'd have jumped out the window if it opened further enough. It was horrendous. And my uncle come to see me, and I heard him say to my dad, what are they doing to her? And he just said, oh, it's medication. Give her. He went, they're killing her. He said, look at her. And I was grey. And this was just after a few days. And he said to me after, he just said, I did think I was going to be visiting you in the funeral home. He said, that's how bad you looked. So I was going to all these hospital appointments, having this treatment that I knew wasn't doing me any good. And I said to my mum, there's something else wrong with me, they're missing it. And this was way early on. And she just said, well, no, you've got to... And at that time it was like, trust the doctors know best, and all the rest of it. I'm like, okay, it's that what they said, I'm just going crazy. And I was walking but on crutches all the time. I couldn't balance, couldn't stand still for even a second. And I was just like this. That was like May, and they said, oh, by September, because I was going to start a new job, you'll be fine. I was like, oh, I can deal with that till September, it's alright. September come and gone, still exactly the same. I started to do another treatment, which was a bit like a dialysis, where they swap the immune system and give you another one. I had these things sticking out my neck, these tubes and all the rest of it. I had to keep going to hospital, and that wasn't working either, still exactly the same. So I said to the doctor, there's something else wrong with me and you're missing it. He said, Kelly, you're wasting my time. He says, you need to go to counselling because you need to deal with your disability. Right? I was like, I'm 31, I know you're missing something. So fast forward 3 years now, I'm still the same. But at this point, I'm going blind, my organs are failing, my skin, I'm getting a bit upset now, my skin was blotchy. I was growing, I'm not a hairy person, or never have been, but the hair on my arms was thick, and my legs was thick. I was growing a moustache. There was a funny story. My husband was like looking at me, he said, look at me in the sun, he went, Cal, you know you've got a moustache, don't you? I went, what? And I looked in the mirror and I did, I've never noticed it. It was literally like a full-on blonde moustache. I was like, what the going on? So, I was still being a mum, I was still going to work because it was going on for so long. And I literally used to go to work with the drip hanging in my arm, teach my lessons, go back to hospital and my treatment done again. Because it was going on for so long, they took disability allowance off me and all this, saying that it wasn't a thing and all the rest of it. So it was a really, really difficult time, massively difficult. And the kids became my carers more or less overnight. And they were only 4 and 6. So they've never really known me be able to, you might see me limping around now because it's still obviously there. So there was a point where my bladder was that bad, I was going to the hospital, going to the toilet about 40 to 50 times a night. Right, just sitting on the toilet, you know, you've got cystitis. It was that, but it was obviously nothing coming out, but it was just that feeling, it was just awful. So I had this bladder thing, and they're just like, your bladder's fine, but your liver and spleen are absolutely massive, this woman said. She says, I'm going to have to tell the doctor about this. So, anyway, the doctor never ever found out this. So it was me that knew the information, the sonographer that knew the information, and that's where it stayed. So I was saying to every doctor I saw, my liver and spleen are really big, I've seen it. And he went, it's not on your records. I was like, what? So I was fighting this for a year. My vision was getting worse. Every time I went for the treatment that I had, the drip, it just got worse. Everyone else would be sitting having it happy as Larry, having teas and coffee and stuff. And I would literally be on the chair shaking from head to toe. I was like, something's wrong. I literally pulled my drips out of my arm. I just said, I can't do this anymore. And they went, if you walk out that door now, you're going to have to go all the way back to the beginning. Fine. So I literally went. So I'm not doing it. I'll sort myself out. So there was a point where I went to NASA, so this was probably about another 6 to 8 months. Just being, I mean, even though it was such a terrible time, because I'm such a positive person anyway, we just got on with our life. We still went on day trips, we were still doing fun things. I went around London a few times and was like hopping on my crutches for miles and miles and miles. I just thought my kids are not having that mum that's just going to be lying on the settee in pain and whatever. They need to, if this is going to be me now, I don't want to affect their mental health. So there's a point in us, this was a big turning point, but the day before the big turning point, I was sitting in my mum's house and my dad's house, and she was just talking about something normal, the neighbours and whatever. And it just come out, I was just like, Mum, I'm dying. She went, Cal, I know you are, I can see it every day. It always gets me sad back to us. And she said, you've got to fight this. It's only you that can do it. I said, no one believes me. And she said, just, come on, you've got to do it, you've got to save your life. So, the following day, it was just, you know, just things happen for a reason. So it was that point, and I was in Aston, I dropped something, I went to pick it up, and the lights went out, couldn't see anything. Literally blind, black, and I was like, on my crutches like this shaking, and I was just like, I can't see. And this man was like, what's the matter? I was like, I can't see, call my husband. And anyway, my vision started to come back, and I rang him, and I said, Neil, I'm going to the hospital and I'm not leaving until they find out what's wrong with me. I said, because I'm dying. And he said, right, okay. So we went to the hospital, did exactly what, it was funny because when I say things happen for a reason, wasn't spiritual, didn't meditate, nothing at all, ever. But I was praying to something and I was like, just send someone that's going to listen to me, just send someone. And all of a sudden, this transvestite doctor walked through the door, massive, I mean I'm 6 foot tall and he's like tall. Walked through the door, full on wig, makeup, everything. I thought, it's you that's going to help me. Because if you've literally got the confidence to walk through the hospital like that, clearly a man, then you can challenge someone. And he was a student. And I said to him, can you check my liver and spleen, because I've been told it's really big, but no one believes me. And he said, I'll do it. And this other doctor was like, you can't. He's like, I'll do it. Anyway, he was doing all this around my stomach. And he said, I think she's right, you know, that's not normal. And I was very skinny at this point. I mean, I was about 4 stone lighter than I am now. And he said you could really feel it. So all the other doctors come in, feeling around, and all of a sudden, bam, I was getting x-rays, bone marrow biopsies, things being taken out of my lungs, scans, and in hospital there for 8 weeks. I was literally like a lab rat for 8 weeks. And one day this nurse comes in and she went, we think we know what's wrong with you. I thought, fucking thank God. She said, but don't Google it, will you? I was like, okay. Obviously you're going to Google it. I've been ill for Christ knows how long. No one believes me. So I Googled it. I said, you've got something called, we think you've got something called Poem syndrome. I was like, right. She said, but only 500 people in the world have ever had it. It's very rare. I was like, okay. She said, but we think you've got a version of it we've never seen before. I was like, okay, well, I don't care. Like, what can you do? She went, well, then I looked on it. It said, people that have got it, not curable, and you've got about 5 years to live. And I was on year 4. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to die. She says, no, you're not going to die. We can do some preventative measures. It's not curable. But we can. But the funny thing is, she says, we've checked your bone marrow. They take it out of your back, which is horrendous. But they take it out of your back. She says, we've tested it. She says, but it's pure. It's like a teenager's, like a really young child's bone marrow. Very unusual, actually. She says, you've got 2 unusual things going for you. I was like, I don't care about that. How are you going to get rid of it? So she said, we're going to give you a bone marrow transplant, but you're going to be your own donor. I was like, okay. So went through the whole process. They said, but we've got to give you the biggest dose of chemotherapy we can give you without killing you. That's the thing. I was like, okay, so that's that. What else? He says, well, there's nothing else that we can do. This is the only thing. I mean, by this time, I was, like I said, I was going, but I was just a mess. I was so weak. I wasn't walking hardly. I was just, I was dying, basically. I didn't have a choice. It was like, die through chemo, die through this, like, which one? So, went through the process. Chemo comes in. And it was just like the worst feeling I've probably ever had. Sitting on the edge of the bed, I put this drip in my arm, and my mum was there, and I was like, I just feel like I'm committing suicide. And she went, but Kel, what choice do you have? I said, I was like, come on, just help me out, and let's just see how it goes. So anyway, I had the chemotherapy, only for 20 minutes. They said by the time it's halfway through, you'll be wetting yourself, you won't be able to speak, and you'll just be shaking from head to toe. But that's normal, it's alright, it's what it's meant to be doing. So I went through that whole process. And wasn't too bad after a few hours, it was alright. And then as the days go on, then all your blood cells, everything dies basically. The chemotherapy kills everything. So you have to have blood transfusions and this and that because you'll be dead. So I had my bone marrow back through a transfusion, it was like a drip. And there was a point, and it was on my birthday on the 4th of July, I remember. And I was lying in bed, and it was the most illest I've ever felt, and I couldn't actually think, how is it possible to feel this bad but still be alive? It just wasn't possible, it was just horrendous. So my mum was there, bless my poor mum, she'd been with me the whole time. And I was lying just in my bed, willing myself to wake up. I was like, wake up, wake up, wake up. Just, I need some blood, just give me some blood, just wake up because they're going to think I'm dead. Wake up. I was awake, but I just couldn't physically open my eyes to turn my head. No, I turned my head, I was like, Mum, if I go to sleep, I'm going to die, that's it, I'm going to be dead. She went, no, everything's going to be fine, they're bringing you blood. I was just like, I want blood for my birthday. Had this blood, came. But there was just a point then, I went to sleep, And then I woke up and I was like, and I was so amazed I wasn't dead. I was just like, I can't believe I actually woke up, because I was convinced that was it, that was my switch off point, and I'd said goodbye to everyone in my head and done everything I could. And I woke up and I was like, I'm not dead. I was like, I've got to be dead. And I was like looking around thinking, this isn't dead. So there was that, then this is where it switches. So at this point, I just knew everything was going to be fine. I didn't know why I thought it was going to be fine, because the odds were massively stacked against me. I mean, after meeting Jo, she actually said there was only about a 1% chance I survived the chemotherapy, never mind anything else. So that was, I had the transplant 7 years ago now. I've obviously learned to walk again. I'm alive, there's nothing else wrong with me, which was an absolute miracle, but I didn't know how much of a miracle it was until I had an in-depth conversation with Jo. And I've been a big study in America for ages, now knowing, because it's so rare, for one that I've survived myeloma, which is what it was, and myeloma is not curable, that I've learned to walk again, which they said you'll never be able to stand still for even a second, and I'm thriving, there's nothing wrong with me. So I've met a lot of people along the way, so obviously this is a big long journey, and I became a bit of an inventor. So I started to realise that how powerful the earth is and the earth grid is, and start to make things with earth and energy and copper and all this kind of stuff. Like I made a healing blanket, I made pendants that help energy and healing. I've got hundreds of testimonials from people, like pendants that I've made that have helped heal people. Even a guy that had lung cancer, we bought a pendant, sent me scans after, he said my cancer's gone. It's just like absolutely, just like this knowledge that I unlocked is crazy. So a bit further along in the journey, it was only probably 2022, I was doing some remote healing on a friend of mine, and I just had this urge to pick up a pen, and I did not know why. And I was picking up this pen and my hand started to move itself, and I was like, what the fuck is that? And I did it again, and I'm like a dog with a bone, need to know what's going on. So I did it again. I was like, that's definitely not me. That's definitely not me doing that. So it's like moving. So I practiced over a number of weeks, and it kept drawing symbols and all that. And I was getting very frustrated. I was like, would you just talk to me in words? Like, I don't know what this is. And my hand just drew this really perfect frequency, and I need to put a video on the presentation actually. And my hand started to do this. I was like, okay, all right, we're doing something now. It's not just some squiggle. This looks like a frequency. And it started to do all these hearts. And in my head, I knew what it was, but it was me doubting myself. Like I need to have it on the paper. I need to have it on the paper. And it just rose. I mean, it looked very murderous, the writing. It was like. And it just said, this is the frequency of love. But I just knew it was, because it come to me first. So then I started to explore that. Realise that I can go and tap into the higher self of people and retrieve knowledge from their past lives to find out how they heal certain ailments and why particular patterns happening, or why they're attracting the same type of people. I mean, there was one lady that was always stands out. She had the most horrendous migraines ever when she was on a period. Didn't know why. It would hospitalise her, they were that bad. And she said, do you think that you could possibly find out why? And I was like, I don't know, I'll ask. So I did, and come up with this just amazing information why women have migraines with their periods, because there's entities that hang around the energetic field that feed off the menstrual energy, feed off them, take it, and then step back, waiting for the next one to come in. And he said, this is what she needs to do. If she does this consistently, puts this in the water, blah, 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 it'll be fine. I said, here you go, I don't know if this is going to work, but have a go. Anyway, I received an email from her, probably about 4 months later, no, about 5 months later. She said, I just want to update you on what's been going on. She said, out of all, she's been having these for 10 years, and she said, I've only had one headache since I've been doing everything that you'd said. I was like, oh my God. but that was because of the water. And this is where the water come in it for me, because it come up with a process of what she had to do with the water. So then I realised then that was programming her cells and her body for her own healing. So she was doing it herself. It was just me unlocking the knowledge for her to know. So then I started exploring more about water. And at a point now, this is where, there's a thing I'm doing, where I met Jo actually, was I've got a thing on Facebook called Challenge Me to be Pain Free. And what I do in this, and my whole ethos before I met Jo, was to be able to help people to use water as medication for pain relief, rather than keep reaching for the paracetamols and stuff. So once every couple of weeks, I would get a group of people on Zoom, and I'd say, all right, so I'm going to channel the frequency now. Like this frequency just comes through me. I put my hands on the paper, it goes, and it comes with this code, this like really intricate like lock code as well. And I hold it to the camera. The people hold their water up to the camera. That's it. And then the frequency's in their water. I go, right, okay. So before and after, they've tested it with their own pendulum. I mean, there's people in America that come every single time I do it. And they hold the pendulum, it's dead. By the time I've finished, it's going spinning. It happens every time, it's never not worked. And I said, right, okay, has anyone got any aches or pains? Okay, rub it on, wherever. Then we have a quick chat. I go, okay, what's your pain like now? They go, oh my God, it's gone. Or it's like 90% reduced. I was like, man, this is a thing. So that's where I met Jo, and Jo was on one of the Zooms, and when I spoke to Jo, Jo was just like, I need to speak to you. I really need to speak to you because we're so connected. Completely different, but we're so connected. So that's still a thing now, that's like research that I'm doing and want to be able to, I do it for free, I do it like every couple of weeks. And we change it on pets, on you, on your plants, on whatever. And you just use that water then going forward. As long as you keep that water topped up, you can use it always. And it's helping people with their aches and pains. And loads of people just said to me like I still use that water. And I literally, as soon as my hands feel funny, like this woman's got osteoporosis, and she just says, I put it on my back, I put it on my knuckles. Wait for a minute. Okay, I'm good now. And that was one of the first people that did it. So that water's still going on, because all she does is got a bottle of the water, the original water, and keeps topping it up. And that's all she does. And it's the same water. So when Jo was saying it's diluted to the millionth, blah, 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 what did you say?
100 million.
100 million, yeah. So that's the intention of that water, because it's so high vibrational, it's flipping the rest of the water regardless of
your water.
That's it. So it just flips. And when I met Jo, that's what she was doing to the water around the world, basically. She was flipping the water, but I was just doing it in a different way. So, pretty amazing story how we've both ended up meeting. I've been crossed paths for many years because we've been to the same festivals and whatever, but never actually got to speak. So that's where we're at now. So what we're trying to do with the Crystal Water Experience is try to teach people this knowledge to be able to empower them to go on their own healing journey, to teach this stuff to the kids. So we do a course actually you might think, oh God, that's amazing what she can do, blah, 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 blah. But I can teach people to do exactly the same thing as I do. We tap into the stillness, and this is the absolute key of who we truly are. The core of us. I don't reach out to guides, angels, not even higher self, nothing. Because I don't physically believe that we need to. And the reason why is because after all that treatment, after all that stuff that went on with me, my cells saved me in the end. So I'm like, why am I reaching out to Archangel, whatever, and all these other beings like Jo says, like who are they really? We just need to bring it in and listen to that fractal of source, that source energy that's going through us all the time. That's all we need. So when we are truly tapped in, we truly listen to ourselves, we just unlock this knowledge. And all the I've done hundreds and hundreds of these readings for people, and we go down to the blueprint, everyone's the blueprint of us. We've got a main blueprint, which says the house, the foundation of the house, and each lifetime, each brick, you have another bit of a blueprint. But if we're not adhering to our main blueprint, it really rocks us. And I get this down to, what's your core values? Everyone will be like, I don't really know what you mean by that. I'll be like, okay, so the core value of who you are, like me, one of my core values is freedom. I have to feel free or I can't thrive. If I'm not free, I'm so unhappy. If I'm not connected to nature, I can't thrive. Kindness, I've got to have kind people around me, or they're just non-negotiable things. So when we get to our core values, the core of who we are, and we really align to those core values, that's when all our knowledge gets unlocked. So we don't need to reach outside for external stuff. We just need to trust ourselves. And this is why we're bringing these courses to people, to show you how powerful you actually are. When you just, when I was speaking to Joe about the illness that I survived, had like, not even a 1% survival rate really, because you can't be cured from it. From learning to walk again, from surviving chemotherapy with nothing else, because I used water and I just knew I was going to be fine. I left the hospital with this big bag of medication and just said, you need to take this for the rest of your life or you will die within 2 days if you don't take it. I was like, alright, cool. In the bin you go. I'm going to be fine. And then when I went back for all my tests, I'm like, oh, you're doing really well, eating expanded medication. I thought, you can have that right back, because I'm not talking for 8 months. I'm like, you've got adrenal failure and you've got this. I'm like, clearly not, because I'm fine. And that's how the journey's gone on, and I'll go to the hospital every now and again when I feel like it. They'll call me up every 3 months and they'll be like, oh, it's nice to see you, Kelly. Thought you might pop your head around. I'm like, yeah, how you doing, everyone? How you doing? Still here. I'll see you in about 6 months. So what we've done with this as well, so when I was saying that we've created products and things, I realised this is the next part. So I realised that.
That bit.
Pardon?
That was amazing.
Yeah.
Oh,